Welcome to That Though podcast. I'm your host, Danielle McPherson.
And I'm your host, Lily Carr.
Our episodes are brought to you by Rose Hill Library, and today's guest is Miss Demel. Before we have her join us, make sure you follow Rocket Productions on Instagram and Facebook. If you miss any episodes, you can find the Rocket Productions Network anywhere you listen to podcasts. So, how are you today?
I'm good.
You good too, Lily?
I'm pretty good, yeah.
Did you have any lunch, or when is your lunch break?
This is my lunch break.
I'm so sorry to take you from that. We'll make it quick so everybody can eat. So, this is your first year teaching at Rose Hill, right?
Yes.
Where were you before Rose Hill?
I was at Hutch High.
Hutch High?
Mm-hmm.
Is it pretty different from Rose Hill?
Yeah. This
Absolutely.
is completely different.
What kind of schooling did you have to be a teacher?
I did an undergraduate degree at Emporia State.
Okay, what did that kind of look like? Like how many years?
It was 4, but it was a dual major of business and education, and I got 3 minors.
Oh, 3 minors. What were the 3 minors?
History, computer science, and business management.
How was Hutch different from Rose Hill?
You guys are all in one building. At Hutch, they have 7 different buildings across 3 different floors.
Okay, well that is
Yeah,
very
So
different.
It's completely different, and the concerns and the issues are completely different because we were not a lockdown facility, so you just see random people walking around the school that you knew weren't students.
That's could be a little scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. What made you want to become a teacher?
A few different things. I had some terrible teachers in high school, and I swore that I was gonna give teachers a better name than they do. And my mom is a law professor, so it's kind of in my DNA.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. So did you know that you wanted to teach in high school, or were you wanting to go anywhere?
I wanted to be a kindergarten teacher until I did my kindergarten rotation my second year of college, and then I was like, I can't handle getting sneezed on.
By little
And
kids, exactly.
They chew with their mouth open, and then it dribbles out, and it's so nasty. I couldn't do it.
So you wanted more mature people.
Yeah.
Yeah, people
Yeah.
that know how to cover a sneeze and close their mouth when they eat goldfish.
Oh, exactly.
Was there a reason that you decided to come to Rose Hill?
Yeah, I actually had interviews at other schools, and the vibes here from the interview were the best I've ever had in an interview. Mm-hmm. And the Rocket Athletics website being added in was an interesting puzzle that I thought would be fun to try and figure out.
So, have you always lived in Kansas?
Yes.
Were you over by the Hutch area, or
No, my family is primarily from Butler County, and
Okay.
my mom has a sibling that lives in Hutch that I used to spend summers with.
Got it. What did the hiring process kind of look like?
For here or Hutch?
For here.
For here, it was probably the oddest hiring process I have ever been in because it started a week before the end of last school year.
Oh.
And I knew within a week of applying that I had the job.
Okay.
Which is not typical. When I got hired at Hutch, I interviewed in January of 2020, and I did not find out I had the job until the day before we closed for the COVID pandemic in March.
Okay.
So it
So it
took
was
a while.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the interview? What was so different about it?
Mr. Welch and Mr. Jackson were super into knowing the changes that I would want to make to the way the classroom ran and how I run a classroom versus how Mr. Wright ran a classroom, because he and I are completely different people in how we run websites, classrooms, everything. And there's nothing wrong with that. But figuring out if how I run things is going to mesh with how they run things and how things had been set up in the past is a really big deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there any other subjects or schools you would want to teach?
No other schools right now, but I have been tinkering with the idea that I should use my history minor to get a history certification.
Oh, that would be cool. So, like, you could kind of switch over to history at some point.
That, and there are certain pathways in the business career tech pathways that you have to have a history certification to teach.
Oh.
Because they're the history of law. And
Okay.
like the basics of law I can teach with my current license, but like the history of law and like the like super in-depth details of mock trials, I am not legally allowed to teach in the state of Kansas
Okay.
without a history certification.
Well, I don't know. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I almost did it for my last school, and then I was like, wait a minute. Like, you already have me doing so much. Like, I'm not
Already.
going to do that yet.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be right back with Ms. Demel after this commercial.
The Rose Hill Library started out as a community library at the school. Their hours are 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Thursday and 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturday, and they're closed on Fridays and Sundays. They have nearly 10,000 items to check out, and all you need is a library card. They also have story time on Mondays at 10 a.m. and during the summer host summer reading programs. The library can also fax and scan documents to a flash drive and make copies for you. You can contact them at 316-776-3013.
McCullough's Excavation was established in 1985 by Jess McCullough as president. They started installing sewer service and septic construction for residents. Over the years, their company has grown into commercial and industrial and municipal site utility constructions. Their business hours are 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and contact number is 316-634-2199.
We're back with Ms. Demel on the At the podcast. So we were just talking about some classes and like other stuff that you wanted to do. What kind of classes are you offering right now?
Right now, I have computer science, accounting, business law, computer applications, business essentials, and advanced web design.
Okay.
Are those classes like different ones than Mr. Wright was teaching?
Yes, he did not do business law at all. And that was one of those things that I was like, if I get hired, I need you to let me teach this within at least 2 school years of me being hired because it's my favorite class to teach ever. And Miss Martin and Mr. Allison managed to get it on the schedule for this school year.
Perfect.
So that has been a lot of fun, and I don't offer some of the classes that he taught because we had almost 0 enrollment for this year. So we're hoping that the enrollment pops back up for next year.
Got it. In place of, so I know we kind of talked about this, but in place of Rocket Athletics, what are you trying to bring?
Okay, so the previous Rocket Athletics was designed, and the majority of it was built in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And a lot of the programs and the servers and things that Mr. Wright was using worked great for him because he had built a scaffold that he knew every single piece that was there, and when something broke, he knew exactly which piece broke because he built it. I don't have that luxury because I did not help him build it 20 years ago, and we had some real issues that he couldn't even help us solve over the phone because he couldn't look at the screen and be like, oh, this is exactly the piece that you missed or that is broken and you need to fix the code. So it crashed pretty early on in the school year, and then we started looking at other options, and right now the school district and the superintendent have chosen to go with a program called Aptigee. They are who run all of the other district websites, and Aptigee is in the process of building us a skeleton website that takes all of the data from the original Rocket Athletics, and then my guys and I, and hopefully some girls next year, can piece together the things that we want to keep and kick out the things that we don't, while also creating an archive where if you are a former student from any time in the last 20 years, you can click on the archive, go to the year, and then pick the season of sport you're looking for and still find all of that information. So it's not going to disappear. It's just hopefully going to be more user-friendly and more mobile phone friendly than it has been in the past, and also be ADA compliant so that the district doesn't have to worry about whether or not they could have a legal problem because we aren't following the federal guidelines for the website.
So do you have like a class of like students who are the ones who are going to help do that?
Yes,
or-
right now the class only has 3 boys in it, and I think next semester it's supposed to drop to 2, and that'll be a lot of work for the 2 that remain. And I'm hoping next year we can get like 6 or maybe 7 people
Yeah.
that are in it for the whole year, and you're just ready to go, and we code everything, we write all the stories, and we do all the things, because it's gonna be a lot once we get the skeleton fixed.
I think that like once it's back up and running, people will see it and then be more
Yeah.
Yeah.
intrigued and wanting to do
And
it.
we've already drawn out sketches of exactly what we want Apogee to do, so hopefully it looks like the sketches that Mr. Jackson has approved, and I think Mr. Lambert has even seen the sketches that we've made. And we're in the process of trying to figure out what our new logo is going to be. So if you have any ideas, let me know. Because we're on a stumbling block, because there are too many options.
Yeah. Is it still going to have the same things that Rock Athletic did, like with the interactive rosters and the pictures and all
The
that stuff?
pictures are definitely going to still be there. The interactive roster, we're going to have to mess with a little bit, because the way that we did the interactive roster in the past isn't going to completely mesh with the new programming that Apogee is doing, so we're going to have to update that. But I'd like to see it still be there in some form.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know, but I'm excited because I definitely, when you
Yeah.
said mobile, like, phone use, I was like, that's so much better because, like, Rock Athletics, I'd have to, like,
Yeah.
squint and, like,
Uh-huh.
scroll and,
Yep.
like, you have to see all this
Yep.
stuff.
Nope, it's supposed to be designed so that it is fully functional, whether you use a cell phone, an iPad, a desktop, a MacBook, anything, you should be able to see the whole website.
That's going to be really nice.
Yes.
Well, that's great. I mean, Lily, do you have any more questions about it?
No. I don't
Oh,
think so.
I do have one more
Or-
question.
oh.
When do you think it's going to, like, get up and running? Or,
Oh,
like, what are
yeah.
you trying to...
The last time I heard an update, they thought that it was going to be pretty close to ready to go by the end of 2024. Granted, that was in September, and I haven't heard anything else. So, right now, I've lessened my expectations, and I'm hoping it's completely ready to go by spring break.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there are, like, hundreds of thousands of gigabytes worth of data just from the photos alone
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
that
there's a
they
lot
have
going
to get imported and get sized correctly, because we're also looking at making the photos sized and pixeled so that if you want to copy them and post them to your Instagram, you don't have to go through any editing procedures yourself.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So that'll be an extra layer that is added in there so that it's not too big of a file, because right now our files are huge for photos.
Yeah.
And Instagram will not let you put a 20 megabyte photo up,
Yeah.
because that's way too big.
Absolutely.
So we're working on that too.
Perfect. So we have a fun little segment. It's just going to be 5 random questions that have nothing to do with computers or anything like that. You ready?
Sure.
Okay. What's your favorite food?
Popcorn.
Popcorn? Oh, that's a good one.
If you could pick like one other career, what would it be?
I always wanted, and don't laugh,
Okay.
I always wanted to be a librarian.
Wait, no, that's actually...
Wait, that's like
Yeah.
Well,
I
that's
kind of
not
like that
bad. I
because
feel
it's
like
kind
that'd
of
be fun.
chill. You have like a
Yeah.
whole building to yourself.
Exactly. And now that my mom is retired from teaching law, she is a librarian and runs the children's programs for her library, and she makes me volunteer. And it is the most fun thing I have ever done in my entire
Oh.
life.
Well, what is your go-to soda? Or just drink in general?
I really like the Olipop Cherry Cola because I am allergic to a ton of things, so I can't drink regular soda.
Okay. Well, that's a good one.
Yeah. What's your favorite show?
Right now, probably Psych from the USA Network.
Oh.
Site. Is that the one Is that the one with the two detectives who are aren't, but they're just hyper vigilant?
Yes.
Okay, our band teacher showed us that, and it kind of got like our entire class hooked on it last year.
It is so good, and I am old enough that I watched the original run and drove my mother insane. And when I started rewatching it again 2 weeks ago, she threw up her hands and had to go sit on her patio because she's like, I can't do this again. I've already heard them all 50 times. Like, I can't do it.
Well, going off of that, if you could be one character from the show, who would you be?
Probably the lady detective Juliet O'Hara, because before I decided to be a teacher, I wanted to be a cop, and both of my parents were like, absolutely not. Like, you cannot pick a dangerous profession. And then I settled on teaching, which has its own interesting aspects that they were not prepared for.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming in and answering our questions.
Yeah, no problem.
And thank you for watching the At the Hill podcast. If you miss any episodes, you can find them wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure you follow Rocket Productions on Instagram and Facebook. I'm your host, Danielle McPherson.
And I'm your host, Lily Carr.